I worked as a maintenance engineer for well over 10 years and I love the job, fantastic variety. And one thing that really appealed to me and suited me so much was I'm very comfortable with heights. And me and the lads, we joke about it because there's a saying in our industry that you really do literally start at the bottom of the ladder and work your way up. And on that particular day I was checking maintenance on a water tower that 6 months prior had some welds done to the seams. So my job simply is to approach the tower and go up the ladder and just check to make sure the weld seams are still all right. And on that particular day I started to climb the ladder in my usual way and checking the seams as I went along. When I got to the top, I just started, after a little second or two of being up there, just feeling a little bit drowsy, and I just put it down to some antihistamine tablets I'd taken earlier on in the day. But then my vision started to go, and I just couldn't seem to focus properly, and I felt myself going. I wasn't quite sure, and then the next thing I know, I blacked out at the top of the tower, fell backwards and went straight down the ladder. It was one of the hoop ladders, so what happens is what's obviously originally there to save me, it acted to make my injuries a lot worse, created a funnel effect, and I travelled down to the ground. Banged myself apparently as I went down, my limbs got caught in the hoops, and I was in a terrible state when I got to the bottom. I was in hospital for over 6 months, something that really upset me and really did upset my wife when she came to see me. My injuries were so severe. Thank God we had accident insurance cover, otherwise I would not have known what we would have done. And thinking back, I never thought something like that would ever happen to me. Never. So, sorry I got a little bit emotional, but every time I think about the accident, it's just like reliving it.
I can imagine.
All right,
do you need a hand?
No.
You sure?
No, I'm getting used to it. Yeah.
All over the world, more and more vertical structures are being created, from mobile phone masts to industrial towers. Constant maintenance access is required to these structures, so it is paramount that maintenance staff are provided with a safe and reliable method of access in the form of secure fixed ladders. Various legislative and guidance documents specify the use of safety hoops on these types of fixed access ladders and give the impression that the purpose of the hoops is to protect workers in the event of a fall. Research has shown, however, that there is actually a total lack of knowledge in regard to this form of protection, in particular its effectiveness in the event of a fall. To illustrate this point, Metreel undertook a series of drop tests using a fire service authorised dummy that had human body weight and certain jointing facets. The first drop tests were configured to represent a slip of the foot, a common start point for a fall. The dummy was raised to a height of 5 meters and positioned with its hands on the ladder and feet off. Upon release, the dummy fell directly to the floor, with limbs being caught up in the ladder structure at various stages. In such a scenario, the injuries sustained could be serious, if not fatal. The second series of drop tests were configured to represent someone fainting by encouraging the dummy to fall backwards rather than wholly downwards. This was done by loosely securing the lower part of the dummy legs to the ladder structure. The dummy was once again raised to a height of 5 meters and positioned with its hands off the ladder and feet on. Upon release, the dummy fell both backwards and downwards, resulting in seriously heavy clashes with the hoop structure, and the head and limbs striking the ladder at various points. The combination of weight and speed could, at worst, result in limb severance, with the body still being subjected to a damaging collision with the ground. Legislation also demands that fixed ladders require catch or rest platforms to be positioned at recommended intervals, usually 6 to 9 meters. Using an average body mass of around 70 kilograms, we can calculate that a 6-meter freefall would result in an impact velocity of around 24 miles per hour, which could result in severe or fatal injury. The question that really should be asked is this really an acceptable distance to allow a person to fall? Hooped ladders are constructed using uprights to guard against falling out of the cage. There is a belief that increasing the number of uprights will further increase the protection against this risk, which is probably true. However, on the other side of the argument, it could be said that the additional uprights can only add to the problem of falling down the cage by creating a funnel effect within hoop structures. Meshing of hoop ladder structures could also feature the same funneling effect, reducing any possibility of gripping to free structure during the onset of a fall. Finally, recent tests carried out for a report commissioned by the UK Health and Safety Executive has now shown categorically that ladder safety hoops provide no real protection against a fall. The report concludes that
unless further research can reliably demonstrate that hoop ladders can arrest a fall or modifications can be made to improve the fall arresting capability of these ladders, then their use should be abandoned.
The report goes on further to advise
personnel responsible for working at height risk assessments must be made aware of this inability to positively arrest the fall of a worker.
The question that now begs to be asked is why hoops are the first choice of protection for fixed ladders. Workers should be made aware of the potential risk they put themselves in each and every time they climb a ladder configured in this way. There is an alternative.